So here is the Beowulf study guide review session. So let's go with number one. We'll start there. In the epic Beowulf, how is the notion that there is a brotherhood and code, not cone, code among the Thanes evident? So the words that jump out to me, we're looking for brotherhood, code. I know what Thanes are because I remember from the lesson that Thanes are warriors. So I remember that we learned about this new idea of comitatus, and that is the heroic code that the Thanes promised to uphold. And in that code, there was loyalty towards their king. In exchange, the king gave them gifts and gold and jewelry and provided for their needs. So we'll call that kindnesses. So I've just got to find an example where a warrior, Beowulf, fought for the king, Hrothgar, giver of rings, and in return, Hrothgar gave him treasures. I do remember there being a scene after he defeats Grendel that is similar to that. So look it up. Number two, read this passage from Beowulf and answer the questions that follow. But Unferth bristled at these words. I remember but being a big deal, that there is a shift indicated. So something was happening, and Unferth bristled at these words. Unferth, who always sat at the feet of Hrothgar, a groveling, there's an adjective, a groveling, jealous man who could not bear that anyone should win more fame than he. Braggart, he cried, are you not that Beowulf who failed against Breca in the swimming match? So there's a shift in perspective. So perspective is whose eyes we're looking out of. So not necessarily point of view, because point of view is like first person, second person, third person. Perspective is the easiest way to think of it is the character's eyes. Whose eyes are we looking out of? So we see a shift in perspective. So that means we've got two characters' eyes. We've got the narrator showing us that Unferth is bristling. And then we have Unferth's perspective. Braggart, are you not that Beowulf? Okay, so we're reading, listening to one voice, and then we hear another voice. So make a mark where the shift occurs. So we're listening to some sort of a narrator giving us this description of Unferth. And then we've got Unferth actually talking. So there's our mark. There's a difference between the two perspectives. We've got two different sets of eyes. So we've got two different sets of eyes that we're looking out of. A narrator and Unferth. Okay, so let's look at the next question. What's the purpose of that paragraph? So it introduces Unferth to us. We didn't really know him before now. It leads to a flashback. So this is the introductory paragraph to a flashback about Breca. Here's our new person that we've been introduced to. So it leads to a flashback about Breca and the swimming match. It tries to cast doubt. Well, this is the first time somebody's trying to call Beowulf out. So Unferth is trying to cast doubt about Beowulf's, resume, for lack of a better word. And then what does it reveal? Well, it reveals that Unferth is jealous. It also reveals that Beowulf isn't going to let somebody talk bad about him. So Beowulf can hold his own in an argument. So that's nice to know since he's about to go fight a monster. Okay, read the following passages from Beowulf and answer the questions that follow. So this is from the beginning of the epic. In a mournful state upon his throne sat brooding, aged Hrothgar. It's always important to pay attention to adjectives. So brooding, aged Hrothgar, gray-haired, and bowed with grief. Slowly he raised his eyes, leaden, lusterless, and gazed upon the youth as with ringing step boldly he strode forth till he stood at his feet. So right here we've already got like a juxtaposition between boldly coming Beowulf and aged, bowed Hrothgar. So now at the end of the epic, meanwhile in the hall at Heorot, the grateful king, okay, now he's grateful, the grateful king, all glooming gone, his countenance clear, countenance probably means face, and cloudless as the sky and open radiance of the climbing sun, gave thanks to God for deliverance. Beowulf, so we've got Beowulf again from up here. He said, bravest of men, I shall love you now as my son. All I have is yours for the asking. Take what treasure you will, but first let us feast and be merry. Ooh, take what treasure you will. That reminds me of Commoditus. Okay. Part A, what difference is revealed in Hrothgar's mood from the beginning of the epic to the end? Well, in the beginning, what was he? He was aged. In the beginning, he was gray-haired, described. Gray means kind of old, unless you're making a fashion choice. Okay, he was bowed with grief. So he was really sad about what was going on. He didn't have anywhere else to turn. Now he is grateful, not sad, because his countenance is clear. His face looks like the sun, they describe it. Part B, cite evidence that proves this change. Well, we've already done it because when you annotate, you usually answered some of the questions ahead of time. So all you have to do is go up here and cite some of those things that we found. Okay, what is the call in both Beowulf and Gilgamesh's quest? So what's the call to adventure? The call, so I'm being asked to make sure that I know the hero's journey and that I can identify it. Let's talk out loud about this. Dreams. I remember Gilgamesh having a dream, but Beowulf didn't. So it can't be dreams. Grendel terrorizing Heorot. Well, Grendel terrorized Heorot and Beowulf, but Grendel did not terrorize Heorot and Gilgamesh, so it's not B. The need for an everlasting name. Well, we know Gilgamesh wanted that. Beowulf, we don't have any evidence that he said that he wanted his name to live on. We know that he wanted, to have performed great deeds, but he doesn't say anything about his name living on. So they both help society resolve, that should say good, not God, good versus evil. Okay, number 5. For the following 2 questions, consider common motifs in the myth and the 2 epics. So I'm being asked about Theseus, the myth, and then Gilgi and Beowulf. Which summarizes a central idea for all 3? The best revenge is massive success. Maybe. You can't cheat fate, but you can have an everlasting name. Well, we already talked about how Beowulf wasn't trying to do that, so it can't be B. You will never find what you are looking for in this world. Well, that doesn't have anything to do. Just sounds good. Brute strength wins in the end. Well, it did not win for Gilgamesh. The best revenge is massive success. Well, what revenge was Beowulf going for? Okay, I've done one of those common mistakes where we think that we have eliminated everything. P.S. I did this on purpose. So that means you have to go back and rethink, because that means you have thought of something incorrectly. So let's get rid of all of that. Let's approach it again. Which summarizes a central idea for all 3 tales? The best revenge is massive success. So if this is going to be true, then I've got to be able to give some evidence as to why that would be true. The best revenge is massive success. Who was going after revenge? Gilgamesh, was he going after revenge? No. There was not any revenge there. So I cannot cite anything about that. So it cannot be A. You can't cheat fate, but you can have an everlasting name. Okay, I'm going to leave it. Let me just look at the other ones because it's true. We do still all three know these people. All three of them were not able to cheat fate. Gilgamesh tried the hardest, and the snake got it at the end. Beowulf, finally, he did one too many missions and shouldn't have fought that dragon. But he did have the funeral pyre built for him. He was remembered by his people. Theseus, he did have an everlasting name. We're still talking about him. You remember, nothing without Theseus is the Athenian cry. B might be it. You'll never find what you're looking for in this world. Well, that's not true. And then brute strength wins in the end. Well, none of them ended up winning in the end with their brute strength. So it must be B. Okay, provide 2 pieces of evidence to support your answer. And then this one, you've got to go and find the proof. So we talked about it. You find it. I hope this helped. Bye.